Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad you all joined us this fine Friday morning. Hope everyone has had a great week as well. So, for those who are new, my name is Mitch Kaniero and I'm a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, you do know during these sessions, we as the Afriforex team, we wake up early in the morning, we identify what trading opportunities we'll be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. As usual, we do have the Afriforex team. They are in the back office. So feel free to ask any questions or queries in the chat box. The team will be there to respond to you, but I will look to see if I can address all those questions at the end of the session. So let's jump straight into it. So as usual, let's start off with sharing my screen. So starting off with the watch list. So we can see yesterday's watch list and today. So yesterday, our focus was looking for buying opportunities of the British pound, the Canadian dollar, the yen, as well as the Australian dollar. And we're looking to mix and match those four pairs with the other four pairs of the sell side. That's the Swiss franc, the euro, the New Zealand dollar, as well as the US dollar. Now, today, there has been a slight change. We will still be looking for buying opportunities on the British pound, the Japanese yen, as well as the Australian dollar. However, the New Zealand dollar has moved from the sell side to the buy side. And you will also notice the Canadian dollar has moved from the buy side to the sell side. So that's what our watch list is going to be looking at for now. Now, in terms of fundamentals, we do have quite a bit of news, especially during the London session. You can see at 10 o'clock, we have some British pound fundamentals, similar situation at 11:30, some euro. Dollars 12 o'clock, and you can see also 12:30, some more British pound fundamentals. So we do end up expecting a lot of volatility during the London session. During the US session, there should be some volatility. We do have some Canadian dollar news, not necessarily that many US dollar news, but we still end up expecting the markets to move. But remember, once it gets to Friday late in the evening, might not necessarily be best to end up entering trades then because it is the end of the week. And remember, next week is much better to at least start off. So we'll start off before we end up focusing on today's pairs. Let's end up having a look at the pairs that we did have yesterday that we're not going to be looking at today. Then we'll look at a few screenshots that we did manage to get before we do jump on to today's trades. So we'll start off with the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities on this kind of pair. You can see the three areas that John had pointed out, or at least the areas up there in that particular area. We were within this particular bias area right here. You can clearly see the illustration that John had pointed out, what we wanted to see during the US session. So the price was holding, at least maintaining within this particular area. Nothing happened during the London session. At 4 o'clock, we can see the price attempted to start going to the upside, but at 5:30, the market did end up coming down. Now, yesterday, there were some fundamentals for the Canadian dollar that time, which did end up bringing in that weakness. And unfortunately, this pair did fall off our watch list. Now, the next pair we did have was the euro against Canadian dollar. Similar situation. Our bias yesterday was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that John had pointed out. Now, yesterday, the price was holding below this particular support and resistance area. But John had also pointed out it might be safer, or at least it will be safer once we did get the price breaching and holding below this yellow support and resistance area. Oh, sorry, this blue support and resistance area. You can even see based on the illustration John had pointed out, waiting for a breach to the downside and the price to actually hold below. But unfortunately, you can see the price kept on holding and maintaining within that particular area. And at 5:30, the New York Stock Exchange opened. Remember, we did have some Canadian dollar fundamentals, which did end up bringing in that weakness, which we can see. So unfortunately for us, this is a pair that is off our watch list for today. Now, the next pair we did have was the US dollar against Canadian dollar. And on this pair, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. Now, the sells did work mainly because the US dollar was way weaker than the Canadian dollar. But you can clearly see the illustration John had pointed out, wanted to see either we could end up getting the price coming back within this seller's area or breaching this area to the downside. Now, you can see during the London session, we did get the price starting to come to the downside, but we could not look for a selling opportunity until we got the price actually breaching this area to the downside and maintaining below. And you can see that was just when the US market was opening, so around 5:30. So there was a selling opportunity there, making sure to manage your trade within this bottom area. But what's most likely to happen, could easily find that this pair could end up entering into some huge range, maybe even just bouncing between these two levels. And that's why today it is off our watch list. Now, the next pair we did have was the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. This is a pair that we did have yesterday that we're not going to be looking at today. You can see the illustration John had pointed out, wanting to look for buying opportunities within this buyer's area. Now, the price was holding during the London session, wanted to see what would happen during the US session. But at 4 o'clock, the price managed to end up actually coming to the downside and holding below. So at that point in time, we do not necessarily see the big boy buyers coming in, and it has something to do with the New Zealand dollar also getting a bit of strength. So unfortunately, it did not necessarily give us an opportunity yesterday, and there's no opportunity for us today as well. Now, looking at the next pair, we did have the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen, looking for selling opportunities. We can see the price did manage to give us a pullback during the Frankfurt market open. During 11 o'clock, during the during the London market open, the price was within this particular area. You can see the market did give a very nice probe, showing the price was actually maintaining below. So there was a potential selling opportunity there. But you can see at 4 o'clock, price was back within the buyer's area, and the price did manage to start coming to the upside. Now, initially, you can even see also today during the Asian session, the New Zealand dollar did end up getting a lot more strength. So unfortunately, that pair is off our watch list for today. Now, the next pair we did have was the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. In this pair, we were looking for buying opportunities. Unfortunately, the buys did not really work out for us. You can see the 3 areas that John had pointed out, but the price was within the seller's area throughout the whole London session. And once the US market did end up coming in, we can see the price started coming to the downside. Now, once it approaches particular buyer's area, I wanted to see what kind of reaction we're going to expect, because it was approaching around 5:30 or so, but we did not see any signs of big boy buyers. And you can see, even though the price is still continuing to come down and they probably might end up maintaining within here, the fact that the New Zealand dollar and the Australian dollar are both showing strength, is a pair that could end up giving us issues. So hope that's clear for the pairs that we did have yesterday that we're not going to be looking at today. So right now, we'll end up having a look at a few screenshots that we did manage to get. So we'll start off here with Bravin. So shout out to you, Bravin. You did manage to grab a very nice buying opportunity on silver. You do know we love trading in silver. Very nice buy right there where the buyers are. Your stop loss already above your entry. So very, very well done on this trade, Bravin. Keep up the good work that you're doing. And also we did get Dan Bickett. Happy to see your screenshots here. It seemed like you are regular here. So happy to see that. You did manage to grab a very nice buying opportunity here on gold. As you can see, the price did manage to come down. I guess you bought it in a buyer's area. The price has started coming to the upside. And we can see you have already managed your trade with your stop loss above your entry. So very, very good job on this trade, Dan Bickett. You also did end up managing to grab a selling opportunity on the NASDAQ as well. As you can see, the price really coming down in your favor. Your stop loss already below your entry. So you have secured at least a good amount of profit there. So very, very well done. Go straight there. So next, we'll get Esther. Esther, happy to see a screenshot here as well. This is the second day that you managed to send in. So very happy to see that. Did manage to grab a very nice selling opportunity on the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. It seems you took advantage of that New Zealand dollar strength, but it was a very, very nice sell based on the fact that the price managed to break a support and resistance area. You waited for a pullback. You managed to grab the selling opportunity within that support and resistance area. And we can see the price coming down in your favor. And we're also very, very happy to see that you have your stop loss below your entry as well. I know yesterday that wasn't the case, but very happy to already see the improvement. So this is a very, very good trade. Keep up the good work, Esther, and keep sending in those screenshots as well. So remember, guys, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are in the video description below. So let's jump on to today's pairs. So we'll start off with the pairs on the buy side. So we'll start off with the British pound pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the sell side, move on to the yen, then the Australian dollar before we move on to the New Zealand dollar. Then we will look at the indices as well as the metals. So starting off with the first currency pair we do have, which is the British pound against the Swiss franc. Now, on this currency pair, yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. It is still the same situation today. You can see the illustration, or at least what John had pointed out. The market did manage to come to the upside, coming back, and it did seem to be holding above this particular area. So we were waiting to see when the buy opportunity was actually going to come about. But one thing to take note of, you can clearly see there's some sellers who seem to be holding the market within this particular area. It seems like a major support and resistance area. You can see there's a support here and a resistance area here. So I think for here, we'll still pretty much have the exact same level, still looking for those buying opportunities. However, one thing to take note of, if you do want to be safe, you can end up waiting for possibly this market to actually breach this area to the upside. So you could end up either waiting for the price to actually come up. If the price ends up actually holding above this particular area, you could potentially end up finding a buying opportunity, especially if it does manage to get all the way to the main seller's area, for example. And when the pullback comes in and you find it coming down slowly and it does line up with one of the market opening times, there is a potential trade there. But Be aware the fact that the market is ranging. You could easily find if we are able to get the price possibly coming down, giving us another probe within this area and actually holding above, we potentially could end up finding another buying opportunity within this particular area. Right now, it does seem that the buyers are attempting, but remember, this is no real buyer because we need a big boy to actually indicate that the buyer is actually pushing to the upside. And right now, there is no big boy that has actually opened up the market. So remember, it's not, the market opening times is when the big boys actually step in. So those are the 10, 11, 4, and 5:30. So Frankfurt market open at 10, which hasn't happened, but it could potentially end up starting to move. So do watch out for that on the British pound against the Swiss franc. So moving on to the next British pound pair we do have, this is the euro against the British pound. Now we have adjusted the level slightly. Overall, yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities. The sales did not really work out because you can clearly see the market seems to be on a pullback. Seems like it's ranging between these two levels right here. So overall, we will still be looking for selling opportunities on this currency pair. Right now, the fact that we've approached this seller's area, it's very interesting to see how the sellers are reacting. So it could end up having something to do with the British pound pairs. But remember, we do have a number of British pound fundamentals coming out, even at 10 o'clock. So we could end up finding a big movement at that particular time. So they encourage you not necessarily jumping in on a trade at exactly 10, but potentially waiting to see what direction the market is going to move, then waiting for a pullback before you can end up taking that trade. So for right now, as you can clearly see, the sellers have come down quite aggressive. We do have some small buyers here right here. So we could end up either waiting to see how the buyers potentially come up. If we do end up seeing them struggling within that particular area, we could end up potentially finding a selling opportunity to take the price down lower. Now, if we are able to get the price breaching and holding below this blue SNR, you could potentially end up waiting for a pullback within that particular area to actually look for your trading opportunity there. Similar situation to the trade Esther managed to take after waiting for a breach to the downside, wait for a pullback, and you could potentially find that market coming to the downside. But be aware, if this level doesn't hold, we could easily get the price coming back up all the way till this red support and resistance area, and we will still be looking for selling opportunities. So do watch out for that on the euro against the British pound, and we'll wait to see what the fundamentals do end up doing on this currency pair. So the next pair we did have yesterday was the British pound against the US dollar. And now yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. And you can see the three areas that John had highlighted yesterday. Now, initially, the price was within this particular bias area. And you can also see a similar situation. John had pointed out this blue support and resistance area where these sellers right here seem to have been pushing the market down. And those were the sellers that we needed the price to actually break to the upside. And you can see even just based on John's illustration, waiting for the price to break. And if the price actually holding above, could end up looking for a buy. And you can see that's exactly what happened when the market managed to go to the upside, got towards the main seller. We did get the price pulling back within this particular area. And if you do know the time, that was at around 4 o'clock or exactly 4 o'clock during the US market open. And you can see the price did manage to continue going to the upside very, very well. So today, the bias is still going to be looking for buying opportunities, but you can clearly see we're within an area where the sellers. So this is not a good place to look for your buying opportunities just yet. So wait to see if we can potentially end up getting a pullback to one of these three areas that we have highlighted. So let's wait and see. Either we'll get the market actually giving us a pullback in this support and resistance area. If we do get some sort of probe or price action signal within this SNR, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities there. But be aware, remember we have some British pound fundamentals coming out. So if you find the price breaching to the upside, don't start chasing the market, entering a trade all the way up there. Wait for the market to actually give you a pullback. And if you see the price holding above, that would end up giving you much more confidence. And especially if it lines up within the market opening time, especially in similar situation to what ended up happening yesterday. So wait to see what ends up happening now, but overall, definitely going to be looking for those buying opportunities. So last but not least, we do have for the British pound pairs, this is the British pound against the Canadian dollar, brand new entry on our watch list. Remember, both the British pound and the Canadian dollar were both on the same side. And you can clearly see when both pairs are actually on the same side, you find the market just ranging, not necessarily actually giving you any clear direction. But you can clearly see the fact that the Canadian dollar did get weakness, and you can clearly see that's the reason why we have managed to actually break above this particular range. Now, ranges are very nice, mainly because it does give you a clear area of where you should be looking for your buys or sells. But also another key factor within ranges is you find that when the market actually ends up breaking a range, it's most likely going to end up pulling back to that particular area before it actually ends up taking off to the upside. So in this situation, the fact that the price has broken this range to the upside, there's a high chance that we could end up getting this price coming back. We see the price actually holding above, this would be a very, very nice buy. This one does end up giving you some very nice confluence, or at least it has a high probability of working out. Now, remember, if you do manage to get the price actually breaking this area to the upside, remember, we do have some British pound fundamentals, so watch out for the correlation within that. And if you see the price actually holding above, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities here on the British pound against the Canadian dollar. So I hope that is clear on the British pound pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the British pound with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to move on to the yen pairs and do the same thing. So we'll start off with the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. For that. So on this kind of pair, you can clearly see these are the levels we did end up having yesterday, although we have adjusted them slightly. But overall, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. The price was within this particular area. And ideally, since we did end up having this support and resistance area right there, you can clearly see the market did manage to breach and hold below. Unfortunately, we could not really take off much further to the downside. And you can see at 4 o'clock, we're back in a buyer's area. And you can see that's when the market actually started giving us a pullback. So today, the bias is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. This is something that has happened with all the yen pairs, where all of them seem to have come up quite aggressive. Now, the fundamentals that did end up coming out did end up showing that the yen should ideally be showing us strength, meaning continuing to go to the downside. So right now, the fact that the price has pulled back, this could potentially be a pullback. But remember, we will be looking for sales as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area. If the price is able to break and hold above this red SNR, then this pair will fall off our watch list. But right now, as the buyers have come in, definitely incited very many people to start looking for buying opportunities, but we've not seen signs of big boy sellers just yet. So let's wait to see if the buyers can potentially still come in. We see the sellers coming back in and we see the price actually holding below. We could potentially find a very nice selling opportunity there. Or if you could end up waiting for the price breaching and holding below the next SNR, you could end up also grabbing a nice selling opportunity within that particular area. But remember, this being a yen pair, the fact that the yen pairs are very much correlated. So potentially, if you have a look at one and you see one moving, the other ones could potentially be moving as well. So hope that is clear as we move on to the next yen pair. As you can clearly see here, we have the euro against the Japanese yen. Similar situation. Seems like I'll probably be repeating the exact same thing on all these yen pairs because that's how well correlated they are. But you can clearly see yesterday, hardly any movements to the downside. The price was just holding within the London session. During the US session around 4 and 5:30, the price actually started giving us a pullback. And today during the Asian session, we did get a huge push to the upside. But you can see we've come back to the main sellers area, because remember, we did point out as long as we're holding below this red SNR, we should still be looking for selling opportunities. And that's exactly where we are right now. So let's wait to see what ends up happening. It does seem as if the market has given us a very nice probe within this area where it's attempted to go to the upside, it's come back down. We do actually see the price actually holding within this particular area because the buyers don't necessarily look as strong as they did before. We could potentially end up finding this market actually coming to the downside. Remember, if we can get the price breaching and holding below this area, we should be able to continue looking for selling opportunities, making sure to manage your trade within this particular buyer's area. So wait to see what ends up happening on the euro against the yen. Remember, if the price breaks and holds above the red SNR, this pair will fall off our watch list. Now, moving on to the next pair we do have, right here we have the US dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities, and you can see the sells did work, but this was mainly because the US dollar did end up showing us a lot of weakness. I think anyone who took a trade on any US dollar pair probably ended up making some money. So in this situation, you can see the price managed to break this area to the downside, confirmed by the price actually holding below. You can see that was during the London session, it's 11, but even then, it did not necessarily take off until the US market opened. So around 4 or 5:30, you can see the market gave us a pullback, and we can see the price did manage to continue coming to the downside. So today, the bias is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. You can see the same correlation coming in with these yen pairs, where today during the Asian session, the price did push to the upside, coming back within an area of interest right there. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. Right now, as the buyers are coming in, this is what we want to see them struggling within this particular area. And if we see signs of big boy sellers coming in within this particular area, we should be able to look for selling opportunities on the US dollar against the Japanese yen. But remember, if the price breaks and holds above the red SNR, these pairs will fall off our watch list. Now, moving on to the next and last yen pair that we do have. Here we have the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen, brand new entry on our watch list. And you can see a similar situation in terms of the story, where the price did manage to come up quite aggressively today during the Asian session. but that is possibly something to incite many people to start looking for buying opportunities. Remember, right now, the fact that this price has been coming down for a while, everyone is looking for sales. Someone needs to be incited to actually see, or at least start looking for those buying opportunities. And we call these emotional candles, because once you see them, you end up getting excited, emotions go all over the place, and you'll probably end up making a mistake or something. So in this situation, this is definitely what we want to see in order for us to sell, buyers coming in. And right now, you can see the way the buyers were coming in quite strong. The pullback came in, and now look at the way the buyers are coming in. They do seem to be struggling within this particular area. But it's a similar story with all these yen pairs. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting the price coming in within the seller's area to look for a selling opportunity there, especially if we do see signs of big boy sellers actually coming in. We are starting to see signs that the buyers are slowing down, but we've not seen the signs that the sellers are actually there yet. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But remember, if the price breaches, holds below this central level right here, there could also be another selling opportunity there. So I hope that's clear on all the yen pairs as we move on to the next currency pairs, which are the Australian dollar pairs. So starting off with the first Australian dollar pair, which is the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, this is a currency pair we did have yesterday, and we were looking for buying opportunities. Now, I've adjusted the level slightly, just mainly because the market does seem to be holding, or at least respecting, this support and resistance area. Especially if I do end up going up to a higher time frame, it does seem that this market has come back to a major seller's area right there at the top. So adjusted the level slightly today, still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we wait to see what ends up happening within these particular areas right here. So we wait to see, we have the seller's area right there at the top. We have an scenario area here in the middle, because it does seem we are potentially in some sort of range, potentially bouncing between these two levels. So if that's the case and you are looking for buys, you definitely know the best place to look for the buys is at the bottom of the range. Now, within this particular area, remember, we will still be looking for buying opportunities as long as we're holding above the red SNR. Right now, the buyer, yes, has come out within this particular area, but the main thing we want to potentially see is if we can end up getting this price giving us a pullback. We do see the price holding within this particular area, potentially giving us some sort of global price action signal, then we should be able to look for the very nice buying opportunities on the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So hope that is clear. This one, the game plan is pretty simple. It's the fact that we're in a range, we wait for a sell at the bottom of the range. Sorry, we wait for a buy at the bottom of the range. So the euro against the Australian dollar is the next pair that we did have. At least we had this pair yesterday. You can see during the Asian session, this market really did end up coming to the downside quite aggressively. Wanted to see whether or not we could potentially end up getting some sort of pullback in this particular area. That did not happen, unfortunately. The price did manage to continue coming all the way down within this particular support and resistance area. But today, we are starting to get a pullback. In fact, this was during the New York Stock Exchange open around 5:30 or so. That's when we are starting to get this pullback coming in. So we'll still be respecting these particular areas, looking for the sells. So right now, this support and resistance area in the middle did not hold. You can see the price look as if it broke. Wanted to see signs of big boy sellers, no signs of sellers yet. The price has managed to breach the upside and is still holding above. We'll wait to see whether or not we can end up getting the price coming back in within this particular support and resistance area. Especially, I like the way it's looking in terms of the buyers don't necessarily look that strong. Can get the price breaching and holding below this particular area, you should be able to find some very nice selling opportunities. So in this one, the pullback is on. So let's wait to see whether or not the big boys are actually going to take over during the London session or during the US session. But there's a high probability it will be during the London session based on the fact that we have a number of fundamentals coming out. Remember, we also have some Euro news as well during the London session today. So hope that is clear as we move on to the next Australian dollar pair. So right here is the Australian dollar against the US dollar. You can clearly see the areas that we did have yesterday looking for buying opportunities. The price was within this particular seller's area. You can see John's illustration. We needed either the price to come to the downside, or if we did get the price breaching this area to the upside and showing us evidence that the price is holding above, you could wait for the market opening times. Remember, 10, 3, and 4 o'clock, sorry, 4 and 5:30. Could end up finding a very nice buying opportunity. And you can see, based on exactly what the John's illustration had pointed out, the price breach to the upside was holding above, and at 4, that's when the price actually started taking off to the upside. Whether or not you took the trade at 4 or at 5:30, you can clearly see the market did manage to go to the upside. Remember, I did point out any person who traded the US dollar pairs yesterday should have ideally made some money yesterday. So today, the buyers is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. You can see right now we are within this particular seller's area. Let's wait to see if we can continue getting this pullback coming in. We'll see what kind of reaction we do get within this past support and resistance area. If this level doesn't hold and the price reaches above below, we'll wait to see whether or not we can grab our buying opportunity within this next particular area right there. But for right now, the sellers are coming down slow, which is good. But right now, the main thing we need is to see when the big boy buyers are actually going to come back. So hope that is clear as we move on to the next and last Australian dollar pair that we do have. So right here is the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar, brand new entry on our watch list. And in this case, our bias here is to look for buying opportunities. So it's similar with the Australian dollar against the US dollar, where you can see the price has managed to go to the upside, and we are starting to get a weak pullback, especially when you look at the Australian dollar against the US dollar. You can see it's exactly the same thing. So in this situation, the game plan is pretty much the same, especially when the game plan, or at least the charts look similar. It does end up helping with correlation within that particular area. So wait to see what ends up happening, whether or not we can end up getting this pullback coming back in this particular support and resistance area. We do seem to have a small bias area right here, but ideally, remember, we need to incite people to look for selling opportunities. Many people will start looking for buys. So if anyone is looking for a buy, most likely their stop losses are below here. So if the price does go below, all those people who get stopped out will now switch their bias and start thinking that the market is actually going to go to the downside. Not necessarily realizing, but maybe coming back to a major SNR area here, inciting enough people to look for sells before we're able to look for those buying opportunities on the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. So hope that is clear on the game plan on the Australian dollar pairs. So right now we'll move on to the next and last currency pair that we do have, which is the New Zealand dollar pairs. So most of these are brand new on our watch list. So we'll start off here with the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, in this currency pair, brand new entry on our watch list, and our bias here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. But remember, we always mention buy with buyers, sell with sellers. And right now, if we want to buy, we are within an area where the sellers, so there's no trade for us just yet. So one thing needs to happen, one of two things. Either we need to get this price giving us this pullback coming back within this support and resistance area before we're able to look for the buying opportunity, or we could end up getting the price actually going to the upside. And if we do see the price actually holding above, and it lines up within one of the market opening times, then we should be able to look for another buying opportunity there as well on the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Then this one is pretty clear cut. Let's wait to see how this pullback comes in, potentially within the support and resistance area. If this level doesn't hold, then that's when we'll be looking at the red SNR to see whether or not the buyers are going to end up actually working from there. So moving on to the next New Zealand dollar pair, right here we have the euro against the New Zealand dollar. Brand new entry on our watch list, and our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. You can see the market has been coming to the downside. So for now, this one is definitely going to be for a sell. But remember, we do have a lot of euro fundamentals coming in. So we will end up informing you if there are any changes. We'll end up letting you know on the Telegram channel. However, do end up trading them with caution. So for now, right now, as you can clearly see, the price has been coming to the downside. We have just reached this particular support and resistance area. But the fact that the price has come in within this area, and we have not necessarily been able to actually make a new low, there's a possibility we might end up needing a better price. So you might easily find the price spiking to the upside, probably inciting a few people to look for buying opportunities. And if you see the price coming down aggressive and holding below, then you could end up definitely finding a very nice selling opportunity there. Most likely, you could end up easily finding the price because we have identified there's some small support in this area right here. Could easily find that's where the market could potentially react from. So remember, we're trying to make sure that we end up entering sells where the sellers are. So as we have identified these areas, but we need to know, even though it's a seller's area or a support and resistance area, we need to see some sort of reaction to confirm that that level is actually an interesting area for the big boys. So we'll see what ends up happening. We'll see whether or not we can end up getting that pullback coming in, or there's potentially the price actually continuing to go to the downside. Could find that the euro fundamentals come in very weak, and if the price ends up holding below, then there should be a very nice selling opportunity available for us as well. So hope that is clear as we move on to the next New Zealand dollar pair we do have. So these are brand new entry on our watch list, the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. You can clearly see the US dollar showed us a lot of weakness yesterday. So overall today, the bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. Right now, the price is within an area where there's sellers, so there's nothing for us to do. We need to just be patient and wait to see what ends up happening. either one of two things. Either the pullback will start coming in, and if we do see that, we'll be happy to see that there. And it could end up happening throughout the London session. Then during the US session, that's when the price actually goes to the upside. Alternatively, you could end up getting the price actually continuing to go to the upside. Maybe you might find that these sellers, as you can see, they're not necessarily showing that much strength. But if the buyers decide to end up taking this price to the upside and you see the price actually holding above, then you should be able to look for a buying opportunity there on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So just to take note of that, let's wait to see what kind of pullback we are able to get. But right now, the price is all the way at the top. Remember, within the market, or at least most people know that the fact that the market does trend in higher highs and higher lows, but we are meant to look for the buys within the higher lows. So right now, you can clearly see the price has just made a new high. So we're at the highest point. We need the price to come back down so we can end up grabbing that buying opportunity within the highest low point. So do take note of that. And that's the reason why for us, there's nothing for us to do right now, but we do need to be patient and wait to see what ends up happening. So hope that's clear as you move on to the next and last currency pair that we do have. This is the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the areas that we did have, but as soon as the market did end up opening for the price reaching this area to the upside, you can see we wanted the price coming back in and holding below, but that never happened. The price managed to continue going to the upside, especially even during the US session, because remember, that's when the Canadian dollar did end up switching its bias and really becoming weaker. So today, the bias is going to be looking for the buying opportunities. It looks pretty similar to the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar, where the price is within an area where the sellers, and we've just made a new high. So the main thing we want to see is a pullback coming in, potentially within this support and resistance area, giving us some sort of probe or price action signal before we're able to look for buying opportunities there. Or we could easily find this price actually going to the upside, breaking and holding this area to the upside right there. And if we do see that, we should be able to look for very nice buying opportunities here on the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. But remember, you can be able to use correlation. I'm seeing the US dollar and the Canadian dollar pairs seem to be correlated based on the fact that you can see the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar and the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar look similar. Similar situation with the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar and the Australian dollar against the US dollar. They do look similar. So do end up taking note of that, and you can be able to potentially use that for correlation as well. But it's not perfectly correlated, but you are starting to see that that is what it's showing at the moment. So hope that's clear on all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the buy side with the pairs on the sell side. So right now, we're going to have a look at the indices before we do have a look at gold and silver. So we'll start off with the NAS 100, the NASDAQ. So yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. And you can see the three areas that John had pointed out. The levels are pretty much the same based on the fact that we wanted to see what kind of reaction would happen here. Because the price did end up giving us a probe where we're expecting the big boy buyers to actually take it off to the upside. But it seems at 5:30, the New York Stock Exchange, the price really did come down quite aggressive. Now, on this time frame, it looks as if it attempted to break this area to the downside. And especially if I do end up going up to a higher time frame, you can clearly see the main buyer's area is right there, and the market has not really held. This, especially sometimes when a probe is not clear, you can be able to go to a higher time frame, and you can clearly see this was just a probe where the market ended up coming to the downside, coming straight back up. And usually in such situations, the market is most likely to pull back to such an area before you do end up seeing a reaction to the upside. So that being the case, or at least how the market is possibly going to end up moving, we will still be respecting the same areas. So we'll still be looking for buying opportunities as long as we're holding above the red SNR. Remember, with these pairs, we're purely technical. So if the price is able to break and hold below the red SNR, then at that point in time, we should be able to look for selling opportunities. But for right now, we are definitely still going to be looking for the buys. So wait to see whether or not we can end up getting this pullback coming in, seeing what kind of reaction we do end up getting within this particular area. Do see the buyers reacting here, we should be able to find a very nice buying opportunity, making sure to manage your trade within this support and resistance area. We do end up getting the price breaching and holding above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities. But one area you do need to watch out for is the area where the sellers did push down from. So even though you're looking for your buy, do make sure you manage some of your trade there, because the fact that they've reacted from there before, there's potential that they could react from there again. So hope that is clear on the NASDAQ, as we'll still be looking for buying opportunities there. So right now, we're going to move on to the Dow Jones. So yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Need to squeeze it a bit because the market did move quite a bit. So yesterday, since we were looking for selling opportunities, you can see the illustration John had pointed out, wanting a probe, and that ended up happening. So we can see we didn't end up having the level right there. We've adjusted the level slightly. So the market did manage to go to the upside, never held, it came back down. Unfortunately, could not get all the way to that support and resistance area. It seems like it just went to the downside, actually held below this support and resistance area. If you do take note of the time, that was at exactly 5:30. So even if you took the trade at 4 or 5:30, this is definitely the US big boys who did push this market to the downside. But I don't know, Dan, you did manage to grab that very nice selling opportunity. So well done on that. So today, the basket is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. So the levels have been adjusted based on the way the markets have moved. So overall, we will be looking for selling opportunities as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area. So right now, we definitely seem to be on a pullback. Let's wait to see how far the pullback can come in. Potentially, we can end up getting the price coming back within this support and resistance area before we're able to look for sales. Chances are most people right now are seeing that the fact that the buyers are not really going anywhere. They might end up starting to jump in on sales. And most of the time when that ends up happening, it's very easy to find the price actually going to the upside, possibly stopping people out, inciting more people to look for the buys, because right now it's obvious everyone is looking for a selling opportunity. So any pullback and any sign that it looks like it's going to go to the downside, people are potentially end up going to jump in on sales. But for us, we need to wait to see what point in time the big boy sellers are actually going to come in. So wait for the pullback, try and incite the more buyers that are incited, the better it is for us, because the more buyers they have, the more potentially we could be able to sell. So hope that's clear on the Dow Jones as we move on to the metals right now. So we'll start off here with silver. So this silver seems to be Bravin's favorite. But today, or at least let me say yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. It is still the same situation today. You can see the market didn't manage to break this area to the upside, because you can see the areas that we have highlighted, even though we have adjusted them slightly. So the market didn't manage to actually break this area to the upside during the London session. We did get a pullback coming in. So at around 4, 5:30, the price was holding within this particular area, even though you can see the market did probe, holding to the upside, but the buyer could not really continue going much higher. So we have adjusted the level slightly, especially if we do end up going up to a larger time frame. You can see this seems to be a major seller's area right there at the top, where the market did end up bouncing from before. You can see these are the main buyers who did push the market to the upside. So it still seems that we're respecting these same levels, and that's the reason why we've adjusted them today. So overall, we will be looking for buying opportunities based on these three areas. So we have a support and resistance area there where it does seem the market has seemed to be holding for quite a bit. Right now, we've gotten a pullback in a very nice area of interest, and we are starting to see potentially that the big boy buyers could potentially be back. You can even see the way the sellers are coming down in comparison to the buyer. That's something that we do like to see. So wait to see what ends up happening within this particular area. We can end up getting some sort of probe or price action signal within this particular SNR, or there's potential that the price can come back down all the way to the red support and resistance area before we're able to look for those buying opportunities. So remember, if the price breaks and holds below the red SNR, that point in time, we will be looking for sales. But right now, be aware that the way the market is looking, it could potentially also be in some sort of range or attempting to start some sort of range. So if this level doesn't hold, we could easily find the buyers working out all the way down from this support and resistance area right here before we're able to look for those buying opportunities. So do take note of that on silver. So moving on to the next and last pair that we do have, which is gold. Now on gold, yesterday our bias was to look for buying opportunities. It is still the same situation today. So you can see yesterday, the price didn't manage to go to the upside. We had the support and resistance area, at least some level here that seems to be holding. The price attempted to go to the upside. We're waiting for the market to actually give us a pullback during the US session. So at 4, you can see the price, rather than holding to the upside, it ended up coming all the way back down to this extreme area. So around 4, 5:30 or so, that's when the price actually started going to the upside. So one thing to take note of, especially if we do end up going up to a higher time frame, it does seem that this level, and the reason why we have not adjusted the yellow support and resistance area, you can see this is that same high where the market seems to be holding it. All this that has happened, not once has the market been able to actually breach and hold. You can clearly see there was a probe right there. This is another huge probe based on the fact that the price has gone to the upside, but it came back down. And when it pulled back, you can clearly see it's holding to the downside. So at that point in time, that's the reason why this support and resistance area is still there, and at least that's the reason why we're still respecting the same level. So due to that fact, could end up still be waiting for our buying opportunities. So let me just adjust this slightly. So we'll still be focusing on our buying opportunities based on the same support and resistance areas that we have had. So right now, as the price is pulling back, let's wait to see whether or not we can end up getting some signs of big boy buyers actually coming in within this particular area. We'll wait to see if the buyers end up reacting within here, giving us some sort of probable price action signal. We should be able to look for a buying opportunity. Can be able to make sure you manage your trade here, but remember, if you do manage to get the price breaching and holding above, we do have this blue SNR that definitely does seem to be reacting within this particular area, at least on the 15-minute time frame. But you can see it's not necessarily real. We need the price to actually give a proper breach and hold to the upside before we're able to look for those buying opportunities then. But remember, could end up still be looking for buys all the way down within this main support and resistance area. So there's still potential. If this level doesn't hold and the price rather than coming to the upside like we're expecting, it actually holds below, then we'll be looking for our buying opportunities all the way down at the bottom. And remember, we are purely technical on gold. So if the price breaks and falls below the red SNR, at that point in time, our bias will switch and we'll start looking for selling opportunities. So I hope the game plan is clear on what we're looking at doing today. Remember, don't try and over risk today, especially it being a Friday. Not necessarily because Fridays are not good days to trade, but you don't necessarily want to give away the profits that you've made during the week all the way back. We've experienced that. So usually try maybe reducing your risk, even though you're going to be trading today. And remember, during the US session, there's not necessarily that much fundamentals, but there is going to be a lot of fundamentals during the London session. So do end up expecting a lot of volatility there. So I guess that's it from me. Let me see if there are any questions. Not seeing anything really. I'm seeing Paul Chiari is saying good morning, glad to be here, learning a lot. Glad you're here as well, Paul. And remember, if you do have any more questions or you have someone who is interested in trading, feel free to share this video as well with them. We do like more and more people to join us here. So I guess I'm not seeing any more questions, which is fine. Remember, we do have a lot of fundamentals, so do prepare before the London market does end up opening. So I guess that's it from me and from us. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. I know it takes a lot of time, at least it's a sacrifice for you guys to be here, taking your time from your busy days to actually join us here. We really do appreciate it. So remember, guys, if you do like this video, please make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you do end up wanting more of this content, and make sure you ring that bell notification. So at least whenever we go live, you will be notified so you don't necessarily miss any of our uploads. Once again, thank you guys so much. Hope you had an amazing week. Hope you have an amazing weekend, and hope to see you next week on Monday morning at 9 a.m. So that's it for me. Happy trading. God bless, and bye for now. Cheers, guys.